Hello future thespians and/or theater enthusiasts. My name is Robert Leverrett, and I'm making this video to inform the general public about theater arts history, but I'm also making it to inform the general public about what goes into a show and what people have to do as actors to truly make the show as great as possible for the audience. This video will be split into two parts. The first part being an informational video about theater arts, from where it began to today. The second part will be an informational video on what you need to do if you're participating in a theatrical performance, using my prior knowledge and a lot of research to make this video as informative as I possibly could. Hello, welcome to part one of this two-part video. In this portion, I will be covering the theatrical history from the very beginning to modern day. To go back to the beginning is very difficult, because there are many concepts of when it all began. Many say that theater evolved from rituals of ancient man. These rituals contain dramatic elements such as music, dance, masks, and costumes. But for this video, we will start in Egypt, 3000 BC, where the oldest dramas that we're known of are the 55 pyramid texts, which were written on tomb walls. They had plots, characters, and stage directions, and depicted souls becoming stars. Then, in the next 1,000 years, around 2000 BC, other plays were developed, such as the Coronation Festival, Hebsed, and the Abydos Passion Play, which were all performed at special events, whether it was the pharaoh's coronation or a religious festival. And with that, we move on to our next stop, which is Athens, Greece in 6th century BC, where plays of Greek mythology, mostly stories of religion, took place in open-air theaters, in which most early performances only had one male character who would wear masks and costumes in order to impersonate gods. Later in the theater, the lead man would just be the leader of a group of up to 15 actors who would sing and dance but not speak. The lead actor would also change costumes during the performance using a small tent behind the stage called a scheme. This would break the play into distinct episodes, and later these would develop into musical interludes. Eventually, 3 actors were permitted on stage, but no more than 3. A limitation which allowed equality between poets in competition. However, a play could have as many non-speaking performers as required, so that plays with greater financial backings could put on a more spectacular production. Due to the restricted number of actors, each performer had to take on multiple roles, where the use of masks, costumes, voices, and gestures became extremely important. Because of this, Greek theater is a very important stop on our journey, because it truly set the tone for all playwrights to come, and many aspects of it can still be found in performances today. The next stop on our tour through the history of theater is the medieval theater era, which all started with a small band of performers following the fall of the Roman Empire, who traveled from place to place, entertaining audiences from all walks of life. These performers would travel across countries and regions, performing plays, music, and acrobatic acts. However, despite the fun and excitement these groups brought to towns and cities, the Catholic Church were highly against these street performers, and ended up deeming this type of performance sinful. But even though the Catholic Church ended this type of theater during this era, they were the ones who were responsible for the growth of the medieval theater. The medieval church offered a service that required the dramatization of biblical stories within the church's premises, of course. And around the 1200s, these plays would be held outside of churches. Different plays had different actor requirements. The number of actors varied depending on the size of the production. Cycle plays, given the fact that they could last for several days, required as many as 100 or so actors. To showcase the play setting, small structures called mansions were set up as backdrops at the sides of the stage. The number of mansions used for a play could increase depending on the length or complexity of the play. Mansions could be arranged in straight lines, circles, or rectangles. The plateau of the large space near the mansion served as the general acting area, where actors performed their character portrayals. The church provided costumes, which could be worn along with other accessories. Depending on the drama, actors wore church clothes, but this gradually changed over the course of time. Over the course of time, around the year 1600, the medieval theater became less popular, and playwrights would need to get their scripts approved by the church. This decline in popularity and strict rules by the church led to the end of the medieval theater era. While the medieval theater era came to a close, a new era was beginning right outside of London. This era was referred to as the Elizabethan era, which started in the late 1600s, where the act of performing in plays was still said to be the devil's work by the Puritans. And that is why the first major playhouse was built right outside of London, in pretty much the ghetto, so that it was right out of the sight of the Puritans. This theater was called the Globe Theater, and the people would come from miles around to see some of the amazing performances that took place on the Globe stage. It brought to life well-known playwrights such as Shakespeare and many other famous writers. The Globe Theater is a truly revolutionary stop on our journey because it was one of the first places where people would go to see performances not involving the church. And it was also amazing due to its design. It was a circular building with a stage coming out of the middle on one side. The rest of the ground was a place where the crowd could stand, and the walls were lined with seating. And right above the stage were important seats where visitors would sit. Even Queen Elizabeth watched a show there once. During this time, only men were able to be on stage. Women were forbidden, and plays were very improper compared to what they were before. Cursing and swearing was normal at the Globe. Even though this era sounded rough and harsh, somehow Shakespeare and his peers were able to make the most out of it. And they were able to set it on track to where it is today. Which puts us at our last stop, modern day theater, which continues to thrive in mainstream and lower levels. And still, even in the past years, playwrights such as Lin-Manuel Miranda are still able to redefine the theater and make revolutionary strides with musicals and amazing productions on Broadway. The theater has definitely made strides from where it started, but even after going through some tough times, it has survived for thousands of years. And personally, I'm very excited to see where it goes from here. Hello, and welcome to part 2 of this 2-part video. Once again, my name is Robert Leverrett, and I am here to inform you about anything and everything you need to know about being in a production. Through this, I will share my own tips and tricks, and I will also include things that I've found off the internet that will help you get through performances. So let's start with auditions. Whether it be a musical or a regular play, you have to go all out for an audition. It is the first time a director sees you as that character, and if you don't give it your all, it could be the last. If you have stage fright, you could try a couple things. I personally have an object that I mess with before performances to get my fidgets out. Or there are foods that scientifically reduce nervousness. These are asparagus, avocados, bananas, oranges, and there are more as well. Another thing you want to make sure you do is you want to make sure you memorize your audition material to the last word. It doesn't matter if no one else has it memorized. The important thing is that you do. Some memorization tactics I suggest are chunking long parts into sections and learn the small sections one at a time and then add one to another as you go along. Or another scientifically proven way to make it easier is to memorize lines, is to work on them right before you go to bed, because it stores it into your long-term memory. More ways include walking around while you do it, or even writing all of your lines down on a piece of paper. So now you've survived auditions. You made it on the cast list. Ha! You thought that was the hard part. Now the hard part hasn't even started yet. But before we get to that, I will go over some simple vocabulary that all thespians should know. Cast, the actors in a performance. Curtain, it's not just the big heavy thing that hangs in front of the stage. It's also the term used to indicate when the curtain opens and closes. Backstage, any area used by the actors in a show that's not seen by the audience. Wings, these are the areas on the sides of the stage out of view of the audience, usually between black curtains that hang from above. Set, the backdrop, walls, and furniture used to denote an environment in a performance. Scene, a division of a play. Scenes usually change to indicate a change of setting or time. Costume, the clothing worn by an actor to help him better transform into his character. Table reading, also known as a read-through, this is done so actors can get a real sense of a play, usually after the play has been cast. Actors simply sit together and read through the play. Acts. Plays are divided into main parts. Most today have two main parts. Blocking. Blocking is the term used to describe the movement of an actor. Stage directions. These are directions provided by the author of the play. They can indicate mood, actions, or set suggestions. Cast list. This is a list of all the characters in the play and the actors who portray them. Choreographer. The person who makes up the dance in a play or musical. Director. The person who instructs actors in blocking, actions, and inflections. Crew. The people who work on the curtain, lights, props, sound, etc. Everyone not seen but important to the execution of the show. Backdrop. Clearly identifies a setting for a scene. Off script means the actor may not use their script during a rehearsal of the show. Alright, now that we have the vocab out of the way, where were we? Oh, that's right. So you've made it onto the cast list. What's next? The next couple of months will be full of rehearsals and blocking and lots of work. Make sure you attend all rehearsals that you can. And if you can't, because of any reason, make sure to contact your director as soon as possible. Make sure you work hard and give it your all during rehearsals. And make friends. I recommend carrying around a pencil and or pen so that during rehearsal you can mark any lines you need to work on or write down any blocking that the director has given you. So a month or two go by and you finally made it to Tech Week. Remember that hard part I was talking about? Well, it's here. Tech Week is the hard part. Be ready because Tech Week is when everything comes together. Here's a couple of tips to get you through Tech Week. At the beginning to the last performance, no milk products. Milk products cause something called phlegm, which gooks up the throat. This is especially important for musical because it alters your singing capabilities. Save your voice. You are going to be using it a lot. Don't waste it on things that you don't need to. Be nice. Be nice to everyone you're working with because though it may not seem like it, everyone is important to the production. And only if everyone is doing their best will you have the best performance possible. Also, they're going through everything that you are. So don't think they can't relate. Don't stress too much. At the beginning of Tech Week, everything's going to look rough. But that's the meaning of Tech Week. It will come together by the end. Also, get as much sleep as possible. Rehearsals every day takes a lot out of you. So make sure you're well rested. And lastly, and most important, wear sweatpants every day. This is one of the 2 times in high school that it's acceptable. The other one being finals, of course. And then opening night is upon you. Give it your all and give every show your all. Every crowd deserves an equally awesome performance. Regardless of size or when it is, they all deserve your best. So give it to them. And have as much fun as possible. Thanks for watching. I hope this video has taught you a lot. I know that I've learned a lot from it, and now all I can do is tell you to break a leg.